Hello, sports fan, and welcome to the Packs for Breakfast. There's some all-stars on this team. There really is. Ron Gant and Bobby Bowe, definitely all-stars. Von Hayes, it's like could have been an all-star. He had a really solid 4 years leading up to this 88 Fleer card. And then there's Paul Noce. That name was hard to find because I'd never heard this guy's name. And if you've heard his name, I was a Cubs fan at this time, and I don't remember this guy. It's like, and there's a reason for it, but I don't remember Paul Noce. I thought his name was Noce. It could be Noce. It could be Noce. But I found some website that was able to tell me that his name was pronounced Noce. So Paul Noce, because I wanted to get the name right. This guy's out there somewhere. It's like I wanted to get the name right. But Paul Noce, we're going to finish with Paul Noce. It's like, you know why? Because it's kind of an interesting story. So we'll finish with Paul Noce. But we're going to start with probably the most obvious, Bobby Bonilla. Bobby Bonilla, I know he's listed as a third baseman. He played third base early on in his career, but I do remember him being in the outfields with Barry Bonds and Andy Van Slyke. And that's where I remember him most. But it's like a lot of the cards that you find with Bobby Bowe, he did play a lot of third base. Now, in these lately, I've been just looking at what was the season that this card came from. And this would have been from the 87 season. So I like to look at the 87 stats for these guys and then look at their totals up until 1988 when these cards came out. Now, Bobby Bonilla was kind of he wasn't really well on his way yet. It's funny, he had no power yet. This was his 4th season in the MLB. And he didn't have a lot of pop. I'm gonna steal this card for just a second because something doesn't seem all that right, but it's true. It's true. I'm sorry to say, Bobby Bonilla didn't have a lot of pop yet. In 1987, he did bat 300. He played in 141 games. It was really his first full season. Other seasons he had played like 60 or 70 games. Not a ton. But he only had 15 home runs and 77 RBIs in 141 games. This is a far cry from what we would eventually get, because his career numbers at this point, he had only hit 18 home runs, was batting .279 in his career. So this 300 year was a really good batting year for him, and he had 120 total RBIs. So only 43 more RBIs for the other 3 seasons, and he had only played in 279 games total. 141 of them, basically half of his games, a little more than half of his games, he played in 1987. So he was starting to become a star, but he wasn't quite there yet. But you could definitely see the pop in the bat was starting to come around. And he was playing the games, and he had a really good batting average. He would, of course, July 1st, Bobby Bonilla Day, one of the greatest capitalist holidays of all time. Every July 1st, I always tell people, Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. People look at me funny because a lot of younger people don't even know who he was. But then I explain it to them, and they just sit there and go, really? He gets $1 million yes, he does. He gets $1 million. And so it's like, it was a great contract. He's not the only guy. Like Chris Davis, I think, has a deal like that now. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to have a deal like that when he retires. So, but Bobby Bonilla, I don't even think Bobby Bonilla was the first, but he was the most famous to end up with a deal like that, because the Mets either didn't want to pay him all in one big chunk or couldn't pay him in one big chunk because they just didn't have the money at the time. So we'll look at Ron Gant. Ron Gant's another one of those guys, future All-Star, great Braves player, went on to play with the Cardinals and some other teams. This was his rookie year. 1987 was his rookie season. And in his rookie season, he had 265 with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. He had only played 21 games. He came up and he was a September call-up. And, there's just not much going there. Those are his career totals. 1987, 265, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs in 21 games. He would hit another 319 home runs before his career ended. But here's the sad part about Ron Gant. He missed 1994 due to injury, and I think 94 was the strike-shortened season where we lost the World Series anyway. But he left the Braves in 90. He left the Braves in 95. He went to the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, the Braves won in 1995. So he was 1 year off of that. If he would have come back from his injury to play for the Braves, he would have gotten his World Series ring. But he played for the Braves from like 87 to 93, so he spent his first 6 years. But the most interesting part is that he was a second baseman early in his career. Once again, I remember him mostly as an outfielder, but he played some second base, played some third base before they shifted him into the outfield. It's interesting to see where he did end up. But, not quite a Hall of Famer, but he, to me, was one of my favorite Braves players. Now, Von Hayes was a guy, I didn't know a lot about Von Hayes. I had heard the name. I knew he was pretty good, but he wasn't a player that was ever really on my radar, especially in 87. I didn't really pay that much attention to the Phillies. They just weren't, a team that I was following that much. But Von Hayes surprised me with his numbers. In 1987, he batted .277 with 21 home runs, 84 RBIs, and even had 16 stolen bases. Now that's pretty good in its own right, but he had, his totals, it's like his totals were 276 with 90 home runs, 450 RBIs, and 169 stolen bases up until that point. But he had a 4-season stretch going from, what would that be, 84, 85, 86, and 87, where he averaged 17 home runs a game, roughly 80 RBIs, about 79.75. We're just going to call it 80 RBIs, and 27 stolen bases, slightly more, because it was like 27 and some change. But for 4 seasons, and batted around 280. I didn't do the math on that either. I'm not doing adding up all those numbers. There's no real reason. But for a 4-year stretch, around 280, 17 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 27 stolen bases. For a first baseman to have, decent wheels, maybe he could have had a little more pop in the bat. But still, pretty good 4 years. Now we're going to go to Noce. Paul Noce. I know you've all been waiting for this. It's like, why is he up there? Because we couldn't find a second baseman. Sunday, we opened a bunch of cards. We open cards every Sunday. This is the worst second baseman we've ever had. And the numbers prove it. In 1987, he batted .228, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs in 70 games. Yeah, it was his rookie year. Here's the bad part. He would only play 1 more game in his career. He would play 1 more game in 1990 for the Cincinnati Reds. He went 1 for 1 that season. That's right. He finished the season batting 1,000. Played 1 game, got 1 hit in 1 at-bat. And took his career batting average from .228 to .232. Went from playing only 70 games to 71 games. It's just the weirdest thing that it's like, in your rookie year, you bat .228, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs. You get sent back probably to the minors, a little bit of seasoning, and then you come back with the Reds for one game, get a hit in that one game, and then you're done. You never play baseball again. It's just one of those. It's just one of those weird stories when you find a card like this of Paul Noce. You see why he had a card, because he played 70 games in 1987. But you dig a little deeper and you realize he had one more game in the next 3 years and then he was done. Just like this video. And that's All-Star for now.